now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So I feel like because we haven't talked about it at all, and this game's been getting a lot of buzz, negative or positive. It's still getting a lot of people talking about it. I feel like we should definitely give our thoughts, even though we haven't played it yet. The Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This game was announced in 2020, right? It was supposed to be released in 2023, but they dropped the gameplay and it got a lot of dislikes, so they delayed it a year. It was they delayed it until October of 2023, and then they delayed it again to February 2nd. Um, so like we've both seen gameplay of it. Before we jump directly into that, you've recently played a couple of the Batman games, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I played
so which one have you played?
I played Batman Origins and I played Gotham Knights, of course. I played Arkham's Return. I'm not fully done with that one yet. I'm still actually currently playing it.
Okay, one, Gotham Knights is not a part of the Arkham universe, which
Yeah,
you
I'm hip.
wouldn't know that,
Yeah.
but it's not. And it's not made by Rocksteady either. But
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. I will, we'll come back to Gotham Knights, but yeah, Rocksteady is one of my favorite developers. I played every single Batman game that they made. They've made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and they made Arkham Knight. They didn't make Arkham Origins. That was Rocksteady. That was a different. So Rocksteady has a couple studios. That was Rocksteady Montreal. Even though
No.
Arkham Origins is still fire, but it wasn't made by the main Rocksteady company people. They only made Asylum, City, and then Night. And then after Night, they started working on this game. Rocksteady is one of my favorite developers ever. Like they were. It's funny. Funny side note. The first DLC I ever paid for, I ever bought was Nightwing for Arkham City. I remember going to my cousin's house because I didn't have internet at the time. I brought my PlayStation to my cousin's house and bought it just so I could download it and play as Nightwing. You already know Nightwing's my favorite superhero, so I had to. That was the first time I ever put money into a video game. Like that shit was. It was such a unique concept for me back then. Even though now it's so regular to pay for DLC or whatever. But that was the first time I've ever paid for DLC. So that should tell you how much I love this franchise. And you played a couple of them, so you kind of got the vibe of the games that the type of games that they make. So you can understand why people were so upset about this game coming out. One, it's a looter shooter, so that goes into the realm of like the Division, Destiny, those type of games where you jump in and you play and you find better weapons and better loot and you upgrade it. You know that type of realm, and people didn't want that. Obviously, after Arkham Knight, people were expecting some type of Justice League game or a Superman game. So the fact that they released a game called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, you could tell that people were obviously like soured by that. Like we never in the Arkham franchise, they alluded to Superman being around. Like whenever you're flying about, and you know how you could hear like bad guys talk shit about you or Batman and shit. You would hear people like, at least we're not in Metropolis with the big blue. You know, like they would allude to like Superman being around or other leaguers being in the universe. But you know, they stopped at Arkham Knight. And spoiler for Arkham Knight, even though I don't know if you'll ever play it, but spoiler for Arkham Knight, Batman pretty much stops being Batman. That's all I'll say about that. Arkham Knight is his his final hurrah. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the fact that they brought him back into this game just to kill him, you know what I mean? It kind of felt like a spit in the face. You know what I mean? And also Kevin Conroy, which is the main voice of all Batman, from Batman animated series to
Mhm.
Arkham series to any movie, any animated movie. He's usually the one who played Batman. He passed away, I think either last year or the year before that. And this is his last game that he made. So it sours it even more that this is the last that we'll get of that iconic Batman voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But before we dive into even like just like what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on games like Destiny or even like The Division and that type of looter shooter? Like, do you even like looter shooters or games like
I
that?
love, I love, I love looter shooters. I like Borderlands. Borderlands was a fun
Yeah,
game to me.
it's in that same realm.
Um, yeah, but the thing is, I'm not happy that this is a loot shooter. I was expecting to see some banging going on, like fighting with actual like weapons and with your fists. Nigga, that shark nigga should not be shooting shit.
Yeah,
He should be banging, bro. He should be banging with someone with his fist. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some of the characters I can see why they will be shooting, but some of the characters I'm like, nah, bro. They should be like actually fighting with their fists and stuff. That's what I was expecting. But when I saw streams and I seen the game, how the game was played, I was like, oh, this is like a loot shooter.
yeah.
So,
I guess the only two that make sense for shooting would be Deadshot and Harley Quinn, but Captain
hmm
Boomerang and King Shark, it doesn't make sense that they have weapons like machine guns and LMGs. And that aspect doesn't make sense at all. Which I totally understand your perspective on that. And also, I know you didn't play the Avengers game, but you played Gotham Knights. So, what was
hmm
your thoughts on that type of game in general? Like, because Gotham Knights isn't like obviously the Arkham franchise. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
very
I know.
different. So, what was your thoughts on just Gotham Knights in general?
Oh, with Gotham Knights, I didn't really like the combat like layout, button layout. I felt like it was kind of whack. I do understand like there's ways to play the game better. Like you have to time when you hit a certain button. So, but I feel like it was like too repetitive. Like a lot of the moves were repetitive and whatnot. Although when I played Batman Origins, I would say like it was. I feel like it was more funner to play because the dodging and the timing, and you had so many different gadgets you can use to incorporate into like fighting enemies.
Yeah,
I feel like with Gotham Knights, it's like you just had the same gun or the same pole with just with elements. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like you had anything really unique. You know what I mean?
I
But
think what's it called? So that combat that's in the Arkham franchise is called the free flow combat, and Rocksteady pretty much created that. They were the first to do that type. The only game that came somewhat similar to that combat flow was like the first Assassin's Creed, but Rocksteady
Mhm.
pretty much branded that. It's called the free flow combat. The way he like goes to one guy over here, one guy over here, and it's very like animated and like fluid. And I think
Mhm.
like obviously you didn't know, but now I told you that that Gotham Knights were made by a different company. You can tell now. Like going back to those two games, you can tell it's made by a completely different company. It's funny though because those games should be flipped. Arkham, Gotham Knights should have been that made by the Rocksteady, and then this game should have been more on Gotham Knights. Whoever, like, you know what I mean? Like, it should have been flipped. The Gotham Knights should have been the continuation of the Arkham franchise, and this should have been like its own little spin-off. But instead, this is the continuation of the Arkham franchise. So it's like it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I know, like I said, you didn't play the Avengers, but Avengers and Gotham Knights are very similar when it comes to gameplay and like you're going out usually fighting the same enemies and doing the same somewhat missions over and over again. Um, but
Which one
yeah,
would you say is
what?
Gotham Knights or the Avengers game?
Which one's better?
Yeah.
I would say Avengers is better just because of the variety of characters. I would say 100%. Um, the best aspect of the Avengers games was the combat, like the gameplay. Like I remember sending you um, like a video of Captain America fighting, and it almost looked like Devil May Cry, like the way he was fighting. You feel me? Like the combos, and there's actual combos in that game where Gotham Knights there wasn't. It was just tapping square over and over again and dodging to the left and shit like that. But yeah, so Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. What's your thoughts on the gameplay and stuff that you've seen in the story? Does anything look anything look appealing to you or any of that nature? I mean, me personally, I'm interested strictly just because one, like I said, it's the continuation of the Arkham franchise, and I'm a big fan of the Arkham franchise, obviously. And two, it's Rocksteady. I know at least the gameplay would be fun. I'm not so and I know that like the quality of the game itself will be somewhat up to par because everything that they've dropped I've really enjoyed. But yeah, from somebody who's casually played the Arkham franchise, is anything you've seen so far look interesting to you?
I mean, I love loot shooters. I like loot shooters. I don't mind playing loot shooters. The only thing I really liked what I saw was the movement. I think the movement was really interesting. Like, I've seen like Harley Quinn kind of like zip lining through like buildings, and then I seen like who was it? What do you call the shark guy again? I forgot his name.
King Shark.
King Shark. Yeah, I seen King Shark jumping pretty high. I feel like the movement looks cool.
Yeah.
I like shooting, so I think I would have a fun time playing. Would I play it like over and over again? I don't think so. But
Yeah.
I think it would be a good first playthrough type thing.
Yeah, for me, I'm personally not a big fan of looter shooters. I think one aspect that I realize that a lot of the majority of them have that I think the reason why I actually want to play this one versus others is just like what you said, is the movement. A lot of looter shooters seem just to be walk over here, shoot there, walk over here, shoot here. You know what I mean? But I think, like I brought up before, I feel like one thing that could keep a player invested in a game is the way you get around, especially because it's an open world. I think at least at the bottom, like if everything in the game is ass, at least it looks like it's fun to play. You know what I mean? And I think that's it's sad though, obviously, because I would have wanted I do want something else from Rocksteady, but like that looks interesting. The story, Killing the Justice League. I'm from what I've heard, the boss fights are good, so that's interesting to me. Obviously, fighting Batman, fighting Superman, that sounds fun to me. It's just like you said, it's just the shooting aspect. The fact that it's a always online game, which sucks. You know, I feel like because when servers are down, it just kind of ruins the fun. It was the same with the Avengers, but later on, the Avengers did add in a patch where you could play it offline, and I think Rocksteady said they were going to do the same thing, but I think it's just weird that it didn't have that off the rip. Like, it should have just been a regular co-op game versus the fact that it's always online. It feels really strange. Something that I found interesting and worrisome is that usually, I don't know if you know this, but usually most companies, they send out review codes to people to play the game early and review it, so the reviews can come out early and, you know, hype up the game or whatever. They refuse to send out review codes to anybody. Yeah, they refuse to send out, and it's funny because IGN, they got a couple people got to play the game early, like they flew them out to play or whatever. And IGN was one of the companies that got to play early, and they did a whole article about it. And they pretty much said that they didn't like it, and then one of the reviewers from IGN, he pretty much was like, yeah, they shut us down. They said they're not sending it to us. And it's weird just because like just because somebody said that they didn't like your game, like why wouldn't you provide them a company that's known for reviewing games? Why wouldn't you at least provide them that? And I feel like it's very weird that Warner Brothers wouldn't send out review codes, and it's kind of like they're trying to hold off backlash from it because throughout the whole time this game has been announced, it's been getting backlash, like downvotes, like people have been shitting on this game from the jump. Me personally, I'm the type, I'm gonna play it before anything, you know what I mean? But I think because it's been getting a lot of negative, like there's a lot of negativity surrounding this game. I think they're trying to hold back on like letting people play it early, even though now you can play it early because but the only way to play it early is if you buy the deluxe edition. You know what I mean? So it feels very anti-consumer for them to do something like that.
I personally just think the main reason why people are shitting on it is because I feel like DC or Marvel games shouldn't be YouTubers.
I agree.
It should be action packed, combat, hand, fist. Some people have guns. Everything should be kind of unique depending on the character you have.
Yeah, and
I don't think every character should have a gun to start shooting at.
yeah, I think there's a lot that goes behind it, especially because one, the Arkham franchise is such a great majority of those games are like 9s and 8s out of 10s, almost perfect games, you know what I mean, review wise. And then plus on top of that, we just got Spider-Man 2, and like, you know what I mean, like I just feel like this wasn't the route that they should have went. But if they, and from what I've been hearing, it just seems like big companies want games like this, like games that you play and you play for the rest of your life, you know what I mean? Like that's what they want. They want you to buy a game, throw a lot of money into it, you know what I mean? And that's just not what every game is supposed to be, especially when it comes to superhero games. It's just like we want the epic set pieces, battles, and the boss fights. And yes, you could have still made it co-op, but the fact that they made it into this specific type of genre, it wouldn't fit, in my opinion. It just doesn't fit.
And you know, Rod, why don't they make a looting game, but with the free flow style? Like you have weapons that you can find and shit that makes you unique, strong, and shit like that. Why don't they just do it like that?
I don't know. I think, I don't know.
What I was picturing is like, yeah, I'm fucking with people. I'm fucking probably Deathstroke, and then I see you flying through fucking niggas, just punching people and shit. That's what I was expecting. And then someone would be flying in the air, shooting some shit. I don't know. I thought it would be all kind of like all around like a different type of game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely think they hit the mark on this one. But like I said, it's just like it's what companies want. They want more. They just want people to buy a game and play it for the rest of their lives. It was the same backlash that Avengers got, the same backlash that Gotham Knights got. It's just like that's what they want people to buy a game and play it for the rest of their lives and drop a lot of money on it. And it's like not every game is supposed to be like this. And the fact that they got a lot of backlash when they first announced it, it should have showed that that's not what people are looking for. I think yes, me watching the gameplay, it doesn't look super exciting, but I think the thing that Rocksteady is great is the story, and like, I think the character interactions look pretty fun. Like, like it doesn't look boring. I feel like that's the worst case for a game. Like when a game looks boring and dry and drab. Like the world looks like not amazing because it doesn't have any NPCs. I feel like one thing that they should have done is have NPCs in the game, just to add more variety in it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking, and it sucks because I don't think Rocksteady is gonna make any. I don't want Rocksteady to be pigeonholed into DC games only because they've only made DC games, and I would want them for that next game to make something completely else just to see what else they can make. But at the same time, I want them to redeem themselves after this game comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For them to do the free flow style, like RPG type, because loot
Yes, and I think Avengers tried it, but they failed. But I think they were on somewhat of the right path, because Avengers is somewhat of a looter shooter as well, because there's just no shooting. Majority of the characters don't shoot except for Black Widow. Black Widow's the only one who really shoots, but it's still like gathering loot, upgrading your character. It's still that type of aspect, but I just think it just went the wrong way. With a lot of the faults of Avengers is, one, any of the loot that you got, any loot that you put on, it didn't appear. So it was all just aesthetics and shit. Like, none of the loot you put on, it wasn't showing, so you couldn't like flex your characters. All the skins, you had to pay for it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I don't know. I do think that free flow combat definitely could have worked. I don't know. I really would have appreciated more just Arkham co-op. Like, I really would have just. But I know, as a company, you've been making that type of game for years, and you want to try something completely new. But I just think this wasn't it for them. You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm gonna play it for myself and see how it goes. But it's not really looking good for this game when it comes to fan outcry. Like, a lot of people, like I said, they're not sending out review codes, always online. It's a shooting game. Like, there's a lot of things that are going bad for this game, that no matter how good the story is, no matter how good anything else is, a lot of those things are holding it back from even being a solid game. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna see what it is for myself. Because I know a lot of people are just hating on it just to hate on it. You know what I mean? Because people like looter shooters, but they don't like this being a looter shooter. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? I think that's why people are mad. They like looter shooters, they just don't like this game being a looter shooter. But yeah. I get why it's getting the backlash. Like, I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna hype up a game that I know isn't. I've seen every clip. I know a lot about the story. Like, I already know what's gonna, like, and the fact, whenever you don't get review codes for games, they're always gonna get like hate, and you know what I mean. It's always gonna get bashed. So who knows? I just hope that eventually Rocksteady can redeem themselves, because this is a pretty low and for them. Like, I don't think this game's gonna sell well. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are gonna stir away from it, and it sucks because this is the only superhero game I think that's coming out this year. I could be wrong though, but I'm pretty sure this is the only one, and that sucks. And especially after playing Spider-Man 2, like, you can't. Come on, man. You got, I don't know, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have for that one.
Glamour of wearing diamonds.
Diamonds bring
Status.
elegance and prestige. Their brilliance makes
Brilliance.